Hello and welcome back to the 12 Steps to Transcend to 5D series. This is the most successful method for transcending our human addiction to the 3D hypnosis prison. Today we are talking about step 7. We directly asked the quantum field to remove our self-devaluing programmed responses to life. Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. If you're new to this series, please go back and look at step 1. Don't watch this if you haven't looked at and worked through steps 1 through 6. I'm telling you, it's a waste of your time. Please go back and start with step 1. Those of you who have worked, who have watched the videos from step 1 through step 6. By the way, I know some of you are going to watch it anyway. But those of you who have done steps 1 through step 6, and you are now ready for step 7, here it comes. So step 7, we directly asked the quantum field to remove our self-devaluing programmed responses to life. Let's briefly go over where we've come up till this point. So, step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over our 3D virtual reality experience of life and had become trapped in the 3D illusion. So, the reason why the 12 steps work for incurables, because really, now 12 steps are ubiquitous and they're kind of a joke to a lot of people. Because everybody, somebody who went to some recovery program and they're still drinking again or whatever. But the truth of the matter is that when these steps first came out, they were revolutionary and they were the only thing that could cure people of terminal addictions to alcohol and drugs and now many other things. The reason why this works is because without realizing it, I've come to find out after 41 years of 12-step recovery and spiritual work, I've come to find out that the 12 steps actually are tapping you into higher dimensional forces. And it is those higher dimensional forces that allows you to move beyond your third dimensional impulses, your third dimensional programming, and your third dimensional identity, which is a very strong survival mechanism, which is also very closely associated. Addiction and survival mechanisms go hand in hand. So for those of you who aren't addicted, you're not an alcoholic, a drug addict, a sex addict, or whatever. For those of you who aren't addicted, you do have a survival instinct to keep you trapped in the self-devaluing third dimensional identity. And so that means you need higher dimensional energy to get you out of it. And that's what these steps will do. So let's take a look at the steps where we've come. As I said, step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over our 3D virtual reality experience of life and had become trapped in the 3D illusion. Step 2, we came to believe that personal interaction with the quantum field energy could restore us to our original awareness of self and giving us the power to create our perfect reality. So that's a long-winded way of saying once you realize that you are trapped, you can't use three-dimensional tools to get out of the third-dimensional prison. You're going to need higher dimensional tools, and step 2 is simply that awareness that I need higher dimensional help to accomplish this. It's important you have to come to that awareness before you can move on. It's an assumption you have to digest before you can move on. Third step, turned our will and our lives over to a higher dimensional force of our choosing. You can call it the quantum field. If you want to call it God, Jesus, fine. If you want to call it something else, if you've done interdimensional interactions, and I've interacted with beings that gave me names that I had never heard of before. I don't care what it is, your higher dimensional guide. You can, as long as it's a higher dimensional force, even if you don't know what it is, just the quantum field, the fifth dimension, doesn't matter. As long as you are giving your power over to some higher dimensional force, if it helps you, give it a name. If it helps you, a higher dimensional force that loves me. Some people are afraid there might be higher dimensional forces out there that aren't beneficial. Great. Call it whatever you want. A higher dimensional force that loves me and protects me. God, Shiva, Zeus, doesn't matter. Number 4, made a list of all of our resentments, regrets, and disappointments we had in our 3D experience so far. I went into that in depth on step 4, and I showed you exactly how to create an inventory 4th step column, what to write in there, and very simple, incredibly powerful. I told you how to deal with fears that maybe weren't associated with resentments. That 4th step is crucial. That 4th step is what begins to deconstruct your self-defense mechanisms that keep you trapped in the 3D. Can't get anywhere if you don't actually work that 4th step. Step 5. Admitted to ourselves, to our sponsor, and to a higher dimensional consciousness the fear-based survival responses that had created our ongoing 3D limitations. You know, if you don't have a sponsor, maybe this 12-step to 5D program will take off, and there will be groups and sponsors. I'm open to that. Who knows? But find somebody. Find a priest, a friend, a mentor, a teacher, a psychotherapist, somebody, a life coach, guru. As long as they know, all I need you to do is sit and listen. I don't want you to comment. If they're your sponsor, maybe that's a little different. They've done it so they can comment on their experience. But really what needs to happen, it needs to get out of you. It's an ego thing where you need to get it out of you, and it's more than just writing it down and becoming aware. There's something about actually revealing it to another person. Now, the good news is the inventory has been misunderstood. It's not about writing all of your horrible secrets, all of the things you did. You stole from something. You're not putting yourself in any danger. What you're revealing is your awareness of how your unconscious 3D self-protection mechanisms have caused you to become angry, resentful, disappointed, and how that's created a conflict within you that is actually keeping you trapped. Once you bring that out into the light, then all kinds of things just start happening. Don't believe me? Do it. So that's step 4. Step 5. Step 6. Became ready to have all of these ineffective unconscious 3D survival responses removed by a higher dimensional force. So once you do step 5, my experience is now you're aware. You see yourself responding instinctually in all of these self-destructive ways. And before you did the 4th and 5th step, you thought you were choosing to do it. You thought you chose. One time I was in a really bad place, very sad, and some guy gave me the finger and yelled at me, and I just followed him home. I just followed him home and got out of my car, and as he got out of his car, I realized, what have I just done? I was not in control. My fear-based self-defense mechanism just took over. So that's an extreme example, but you'll have your own example. You'll find yourself snapping at somebody. You'll find yourself acting in ways. You'll find yourself responding internally in ways, and you'll see it happening, and you go, oh my God, that's that thing that Mahadev is talking about. That's that ineffective, destructive self-defense mechanism, and I have no control over it. And you should feel like that. Like, I'm not choosing to do it. It's a response ingrained in me, and I can't stop it just because I know it's there. I need some force. Now we get to step 7. So step 7 is we directly asked the quantum field to remove our self-devaluing programmed responses to life. It's a real simple step. And, if you've worked other 12-step programs, you're familiar with the 7-step prayer. So I have my own version because, again, this can work for anybody. It'll work really well if you are, in a 12-step program. It's going to work great. But there's a lot of people who don't qualify for 12-step programs. But in terms of escaping the 3D, we all have this addiction to the 3rd dimension. So I've shifted the prayer a little bit to be able to be pertinent to everybody. I really like it. And here's what you do. It's just that simple. After you've sat with step 6 for however long, could be a few days, a week, you're now aware, oh my God, I can see. It's just, I get stimulated by life and then I respond in all of these ineffective, destructive ways. And it's keeping me trapped in 3D and I need help. I need something outside of 3D to help me. You've already you've already created a connection with the quantum field or a higher dimensional entity of your choice, even your higher dimensional self. You can do that. I pray to Mahadeva, my higher dimensional self, all the time. So you can do that. Whatever it is, now you're going to use this prayer and you're going to say it out loud if you can. If not, you can say it, recite it internally. It goes like this. It's very simple. Oops, where is it? By the way, what did I do with it? No. I didn't upload it. Here we go. I'm going to upload it right now. So just give me a second here and get ready for it. The 7th step intention is what I call it. Give me just a second. There it is. All right. So here's the 7th step. Self-transformation intention. I surrender to my higher dimensional self. I am now willing that you should have all of me, positive and negative, dark and light. I ask that you now remove from me every single ineffective 3D self-preservation impulse which hides me from receiving love from you and all other beings of light. Please free me to fearlessly give my love and compassion to all beings in the multiverse. Grant me the power to take fearless action, to authentically shine my light and flow through the cosmos with ever-increasing higher dimensional awareness. I have said it, I mean it, and it is now true. So you can just simply say that intention. If you want to call it a prayer, you can. You say that intention out loud or you recite it, read it off of a page. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I use these specific words, because again, this will work for anything. If somebody uses this 7-step prayer for their AA program or their NA program, it'll work. But specifically, this is designed for freedom from the 3rd dimension. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I've used these phrases. So, I surrender to my higher dimensional self. Again, you can replace that with anything you want. God, Jesus, Jupiter, Zeus, Kali, Odin, Shiva, doesn't matter. The point being is that you're aware that this is a higher dimensional being. Why is that important? 3D is really just a projection. 3D, any object in the 3rd dimension can't do anything of itself. It's only a manifested intention, a manifested projection from somebody else's intention, the mind of God or your mind, doesn't matter. So if you're responding from these 3-dimensional projections inside yourself, you can't use your mind to figure it out. But you do have a higher dimensional self. And the truth is, every time you tap into a higher force, whether it be God or the quantum field or love or the universe or whatever it is that you use, you are also tapping into a higher dimensional aspect of yourself. So that's why I use that, because I want to bring the consciousness in of shifting to that you that you are in a higher dimensional state already. You just have to shift your consciousness there. Okay, so I surrender to my higher dimensional self. I am now willing that you should have all of me, positive and negative, dark and light. I ask that you now remove from me every single ineffective 3D self-preservation impulse which hides me from receiving love from you and all other beings. So that should be fairly self-explanatory, but I put in there a phrase which is specific to the 3D, which is what I have found is the main issue for human beings, no matter what they be suffering from, whether they suffer from a severe mental illness or whether they suffer from just living in, third dimension narrative, is that the main issue that keeps us from higher dimensions is infinite love. We experience love in the third dimension, but we do not experience infinite love. I can tell you from personal experience that when a higher dimensional being is in your physical presence and they project onto you just the slightest bit of love that they have for you, that love is so intense it will break down your third dimensional protective barrier and it'll feel like it's killing you. Now that's on the extreme level. On the human level, this happens all the time. I just had this happen to me with somebody who was close to me. I wasn't even dating this person, but I got hammered by somebody who, paranoidly accused me of thinking and doing things that weren't even anywhere near my intention or my consciousness. And the truth of it is that this person actually has, because I'm the kind of person, you get to know me, I'm going to get to know you well, and I'm going to want to connect with you on a real, I'm going to be real with you, and that means I'm going to love you. I'm going to give you love, and I'm going to want to be that kind of friend or that person to you. And what happened is this person responded out of their inability to feel worthy of love. Now, they were completely unconscious of that. In their mind, I was seeing them in this predatory, narcissistic way, and none of that was true. Not even close. But they can't help it. That person had never been able to receive love from anybody, let alone their friend. So when it comes to interacting with higher dimensional forces, the love that will come at you will be so unbelievably pure. We've never felt anything like that, and it will feel like it's killing you. Your first response will be fear. You might even go, if a higher dimensional being just simply appeared in front of you and sent some love towards you, if they really just opened up the spigot and let their higher dimensional love hit you, there's a very good chance that you would get paranoid and feel like they were trying to harm you. In fact, what would happen is you might have a really blissful experience, and then when they left, a couple hours later, you would start telling yourself how that being was trying to suck the life force out of you and kill you and trying to lie to you. I mean, it's crazy the kind of stuff that went in my head, and I realized that's that thing again. I'm just not used to that level of love. Here's why. In the third dimension, people reject you. People judge you. You can be vulnerable, and you can fall in love with somebody, or you can be really good friends with somebody. And if they reject you, and they might reject you out for whatever reason, it will be so painful. You'll want to protect yourself from then on. We learn this as little kids because little kids just love everything and everybody, just like a puppy dog. But when we get rejected, it's so hurtful. We go, I'm never going to let anybody hurt me again. We also get the message we're not worthy of it. This is a very common human 3D experience, not being worthy of love. So you're going to have to learn to accept this higher dimensional love and be worthy of it. So this is the reason why I put this wording in there. I'm not willing you should have all of me positive and negative, dark and light. That's obvious. That means there's good things in me, and then there's this self-destructive impulses, self-preservation impulses, and they're all mixed together, and I don't know the difference half the time. Sometimes I think I'm being loving and I'm being destructive. Sometimes I think, I'm the opposite. I think I'm being destructive when I'm actually being loving. Just to give you an example, a lot of the 3D world does not want you to shine your light. When you shine your light fearlessly in the world, there are people that will come at you and call you a narcissist. Happens to me almost on a daily basis on this channel. Happens to me out there in the world. It's happened to you too. How dare you stand out amongst the crowd? Who do you think you are? Right? So the fifth dimension wants you to do that. So you're going to have to learn how to let your light shine and not have to dim it down just so you don't intimidate other people, just so you don't piss off other people. Because a lot of the attacks we get are people who don't want your light because it intimidates them because they're not shining their light. And so they attack you for it. How dare you? Knock it off. Who do you think you are? Tone it down. And so just to, but now we're heading into 5D. We can't do that anymore. So I'm willing now. You should all have all of me positive and negative, dark and light, because sometimes I don't know which is which. I ask that you now remove from me every single ineffective 3D self-preservation impulse which hides me from receiving love from you and all other beings of light. So do you get that? It's our 3D self-preservation impulse that hides us from being able to receive this pure, higher dimensional love. Moving on. Please free me to fearlessly give my love and compassion to all beings in the universe. So when we are able to receive love, we also, it's, again, we're trained not to love people because they might punish us for that. I mean, again, I've experienced this numerous times, being punished for loving people. They have no idea they're doing it, but it creates this really weird, self-protective, let's hide from the rest of the world, and it's very destructive, and it'll keep us from moving on. So we need help to be able to grow beyond it. So I ask that you now remove from me every single ineffective 3D self-preservation impulse which hides me from receiving love from you and all other beings of light. Please free me to fearlessly give my love and compassion to all beings in the universe. We also don't give our love. So we want to be given the power to fearlessly give our love to everything and everybody. And listen, there are going to be people, when you give them, 3D people, when you give them their love, it's going to be hard for them. But you can't hold back. Love sometimes means giving people space and leaving them alone and minding your own business. Don't get me wrong. But in higher dimensional places, every being wants your love. Every being is open to your love and they want to give you love. So to be in a 5D place of unbelievable, love going in both directions, we need to ask for this higher dimensional fearlessness, because it's going to take fearlessness in the beginning to pull this off. Then we say, grant me the power to take fearless action to authentically shine my light and flow through the cosmos with ever-increasing higher dimensional awareness. Give me the fearlessness to take action to shine your light authentically. We don't know what that's like here in the 3D. It's very challenging to be authentic, because it's dangerous. You will get attacked. You will get targeted. And it's painful and it's scary. So in 5D, there's no, your fearlessness will be rewarded. Your vulnerability will be rewarded. Because your vulnerability will be seen as fearlessness. It's the opposite of the 3D. Fearlessness in the 3D is putting up your dukes and but that's, I've known, the most powerful martial artists possibly on the whole planet. If you put them in a room with 20 guys with sticks, knives, and guns, they'd be the only ones that would walk out. But put them in a room with people who were sharing their feelings, and they run out of there like scared children. So being fearless in the 3D is not the same as being fearless in 5D. Being fearless in 5D means being vulnerable and, fearlessly being seen on all levels. And this is our deepest desires, to be seen on all levels. This is the root of spirituality, to have God or a higher dimensional force see us on the deepest level. And when we are seen and known, there's a peace and fulfillment that nothing else can accomplish. So we're asking for this as well. Grant me the power to take fearless action to authentically shine my light and to flow through the cosmos with ever-increasing higher dimensional awareness. And then, instead of saying amen, I've got this phrase here which I'll explain to you. I have said it, I mean it, and it is now true. Very powerful phrase. And I'll tell you how I came upon that phrase. I was doing interdimensional meditation. Again, if you're new to the channel, you don't know what that is, go to the playlists and you will see guided interdimensional meditations. I was doing interdimensional meditation and I was communicating with a higher dimensional being. And as I always do, when either I'm starting to get tired or I'm starting to, lose my focus, or things are coming to an end, they're done, and they say, that's it, next time. I will say, do you have any parting thoughts for me? Do you have anything else, any advice that you would like to give me? And this being, it wasn't physical, it was all happening, in meditation. And this being sort of sidled up to me and said, what you say, you mean, and what you mean is true. And he really wanted to bring that home, that was a message. And there was a lot in that, because what it means is, even when you jokingly say something, if it comes out of your mouth, there's a truth in your unconscious mind. They say in vino veritas, right? People speak the truth when they're drunk. Even in humor, in sarcasm, there's always a kernel of truth. So if it comes out of your mouth, it's because you mean it. And here's the thing, if you mean something on an unconscious level, you manifest it. Now, you can have all kinds of things in your unconscious, but the moment you speak it, it becomes true. Even when you think you're kidding, even when you're lying, even when you're not telling the truth. I've shared this example, and it's a good one. I was out surfing one day, and the waves were really great. It was actually pretty perfect on all levels. And there was another guy out there, and I went up and, didn't know the guy. Hey, how are you? And I did a thing that we normally do. And, I said, gosh, if only it was a little bigger. I didn't need it to be bigger. But that's just something you say. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if the waves were bigger? He said, well, if only it was, I wish it was just a little bit bigger. That was my exact words. I went out surfing the next day and the waves were a little bit bigger. And I went, these waves are a little too big. I made the best of it and I enjoyed it and I was grateful for it. But the message that came back to me was, you said you wanted it bigger. You said you wanted it just a little bit bigger. We gave you perfect, but you said, but the truth is I didn't mean it consciously when I said it. It came out of my mouth because I was trying to look good. I was coming from a place of devaluation. If I was authentic, I would have said, wow, this is perfect. I hope it's like this tomorrow. Isn't this perfect? Because that would have been my authentic truth. Instead, I was hiding, trying to make myself look good because I was insecure about somebody I didn't know. And so that's what that little Yoda character, it was like a little Yoda character in my meditation. That's what he meant. He said, what you say you mean, and what you mean is true. Meaning what you mean is what will be manifested. You will always manifest what you mean, whether you realize it or not. So what we want to do is we want to be conscious. Now you can have things going on inside of you. And if you are conscious that there's a part of you that wants to do or say something destructive, then you know not to speak it. You know to speak the opposite. Like if I had known that I was going to make it a little too big and put myself out of my comfort zone, I would have consciously said out loud to the guy while I was being authentic to myself. I would have said, which of course is you're being authentic and helpful to somebody else. He can want it however he wants it. I would have said, this is perfect. I hope it's like this tomorrow. Then I would have tapped into the part of that in me that meant that, and that is what would have become true. The other thing is when you speak, it becomes your truth. So when that being said that to me, both words came into my mind. What you say is what you mean, and what you mean is your truth. Now, troth is an old English word. We still see it now in marriage, betrothal, right? And your troth is your commitment. It's your truth because you say, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. I am going to protect the king. I am going to give my heart to this woman. It is your troth. It means your commitment for the rest of your life. So when you speak something, it's not only something that you have decided to mean and to manifest, you have now committed yourself to experience that. So when you say something out of your unconsciousness, you have now committed yourself to experience that. So this prayer, you're now very clear, you're very conscious, and now this is like, it's so mote it be. I have said it, I mean it, it is now true. Very powerful way to end any intention. Feel free to use that over for any conscious intention you want. All right, so that is step 7. We directly ask the quantum field to remove our self-devaluing programmed responses to life. I'm going to leave this up here. I'm gonna bow out of the video for now, but I'm going to leave this up here for a couple of minutes. You can screenshot it, copy it down, do whatever. And again, don't do these steps out of order. Please, it'll be meaningless to you if you do it out of order. If you've watched this and you haven't worked this and you're excited, go back to step 1. Start with step 1. Do each step before you move on to the next one. I wish you all the best. I look forward to seeing you all in 5D. Take care.